What's going on, YouTube? This is Pyro Tycoon. This is part 2 of my PlayStation Network Sony Online Entertainment hacking video. Go back and watch part 1. Please go back and watch part 1. I explain a few things there. It might make sense to you. Like, it might explain something to you. It might save you from a stupid comment. Please go back and watch it. All right. So part 2. Picking up where I left off. It kind of started with the whole PlayStation Network hack. Kind of started with GeoHot. And not because him hacking the PS3 is responsible for these people's access to PlayStation Network. No, it's the start because it caught the attention of the hacker community. When Sony went after GeoHot, they were declaring war on all hackers, and they went after GeoHot with lawyers for jailbreaking a PS3, which is really overboard when you really think about it, because everything is jailbroken. There's phones, the Wii, the 360, everything gets jailbroken. It's just it's just the way it is. And the way you really fight people jailbreaking your hardware is by doing firmware updates that kind of go in there and cancel out the custom firmware that people put on there. So I think Sony did that a couple times, and then they just attacked GeoHot with lawyers and tried to sue the hell out of him. And I think at the end, that they didn't really get any money from him or anything. But he's not allowed to hack anything Sony related ever again. So I think that's what happened there. But yeah, basically Sony, when this was going on, declared war on all hackers. And that's a statement like that, how's the hacker community not going to go after you now? You're declaring war on all hackers. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, Sony's got really beefed up security for PS3 and PSN now. And apparently that's not the case, because the PlayStation Network went down. So PlayStation Network goes down around when did I don't even remember when it went down, 19th or something, whatever. All I know is I got an email on the 26th saying that, oh yeah, by the way, we were hacked somewhere around the 17th to 19th. People might have your personal and credit card information. Please cancel that shit. And I'm laughing. I'm laughing because it doesn't affect me, because it's an old card that doesn't work. So it's not affecting me personally, but you think about it. It's really 7 to 9 days later, these people could already have had your information, spent your money already, and that's just too much time to give people. And I was just amazed it took Sony that long to contact people and say, hey, PlayStation Network hacked. Your credit card information could possibly be out there. 9 days, 7 to 9 days. 7 to 9 days. Wow, that's a long ass time. So it was funny. Okay, so I'm going through and I'm reading some other articles about their, So after I got the email, I was reading articles. Sony got hacked, and it's oh well, that sucks because people get hacked, and Sony kind of brought it upon themselves for declaring war on the hacker community, but it still sucks for Sony. So that's what I'm thinking. And I'm reading more articles. A couple of days later, there's an article with Sony's diagram of how they got hacked, and it kind of proves that the jailbreaking of the PS3 had nothing to do with the actual hack, because they had a diagram that was showing I'll put a link in the description. It was showing how they basically got onto the hackers got onto a web server, which is just connecting to the internet. And then they got onto the application server, and through a flaw in the application server, they were able to upload a communication tool which communicated with the actual PSN server that had all the information, and they were able to obtain it from there. So it really has nothing to do with jailbreaking PS3. You could have done that from a computer. It's possible someone could have done it from a PS3, but I think it'd be too much effort on their part to go in on the PS3, connect the internet, upload the communication tool onto the PS3 and then onto application server. So I highly think it was done through a computer. I could be wrong, but overall the freaking jailbreaking of the PS3 really has nothing to do with the actual hack. Now, it sparked the hacker community. Attacking someone jailbreaking a system like that is really overboard, and you're declaring war on all hackers, so you kind of should be prepared to get attacked after a statement like that. It's just common sense to me. I could be wrong, but okay. So we have all that. Like a few days later, I'm reading an article. I think between that time and up until like yesterday or so, all the articles kind of saying, oh, Sony got hacked and blah, blah. Yesterday I was reading an article. Several articles, actually, because I Googled it later, saying that the PSN, not only was it running outdated software, which I was kind of suspecting anyways, not only is it running outdated software, it has no firewalls. It has no There's what? What? Everything has firewalls. Like, what the fuck? There's no excuse for this. A multi-billion-dollar company to be running outdated software and no firewalls on a server that houses personal and credit card information of millions of people. Like, there's no excuse for that. There's absolutely no excuse for that. You obviously have the money, a multi-billion-dollar company, and you're not going to protect your customers' information, like, at all? No firewall? What? So the whole time we're thinking it was some pro hacker got in there, like Sony, like up until this point, pretty much most people thought Sony had some like super beefed up security system. This hacker is a complete genius, somehow bypassed all that and got the information. No. With fucking outdated software and no firewalls, it could have been any average Joe. It could have been any retard that knows how to operate a computer, pretty much, get in there and do this shit. Like, this is mind-baffling to me. So we can no longer say that, you know, whoever got in there was a really good hacker. You know, let's look at these several like hacker communities like Anonymous and say, okay, it's narrowed down to these people. No, now it's just like anyone could have done it, pretty much. Like, wow, that is amazing. And then, you know, you read, and the thing is, like, Sony's apology for all this isn't even that good. Like, the welcome back to PlayStation Network, ooh, you get a month free of PSN Plus. And I think, okay, I was reading an article today where they're adding, like, some, I think it was like, I don't know, some program where if you had your information credit card stolen, they offer like up to $1 million for compensation or something like that. I was like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, that's actually good. But a month free of PlayStation Network, that's kind of laughable, dude. Like, when Xbox Live got hacked, I think it was back in 2007, it was down for a couple weeks, everyone got a month free of Xbox Live, and they got a download. And it's like, wow, Sony, you're basically doing kind of what Microsoft did, only except kind of a step backwards, and this shit's a lot more serious. Now, granted, you're giving people that had their information or money taken from them, you're giving them a way to compensate, but that's just a given. Like, if you didn't do that, you'd be totally fucked. I can guarantee it. And I think you're doing that to avoid all the lawsuits. I really think that's why you did it, and it makes perfect sense. Multi-billion-dollar company with no firewalls. Wow. I find it hard to believe. Actually, I really don't want to believe that article. Like, outdated software, like, there's really no excuse for that as a multi-billion-dollar company. And I know you guys had to be running outdated software. It just had to be the case. But no firewalls. I'm still pretty skeptical about that, but if it's true, that's just completely mind-blowing for a multi-billion-dollar company to have no firewalls on the server that houses so much personal information and credit card numbers and all that shit. And the only thing that was encrypted was like credit card information and I think some people's passwords, not all passwords, but some people's passwords and the credit card numbers or credit card information was the only things that were encrypted. So okay, to take a look at this. Let's say all that shit was encrypted and protected and stuff. People had their names, birth dates, addresses on there. That's still a pretty damn good setup for identity theft. That's not a scary thought. These people know who you are. They know where you live. That's still pretty scary, even if you even if we take into consideration encrypted credit cards, and let's pretend like no one had their shit stolen. Like, wow, that's still very scary, Sony. That really is. So, okay, talked about the actual. I should really just have a checklist for these things, because in my mind, I'm trying to run through it, and I know there's more I want to say. I can't think of it right now. Oh, right, Sony's apology. So, Sony in Japan, they get up there and they, do an apology bow for 7 seconds. And of course, this blows us like Western people away. We're like, oh my gosh, Sony was so sorry that they bowed for 7 seconds. Me, as an American, I'm totally impressed. Whoa. Let's back up here. There's another article. I'll see if I can find the link. One of my coworkers printed it off for me, actually, so I was reading it and I was mind blown because, Sony 7 second bow for an apology. But over in Japan, such an apology bow is a minimum of 10 to 15 seconds. And this is pretty serious. I don't want to say 77 million users lost their, or had their stuff taken from them, but like literally millions and millions of users have had their personal information or credit card information like kind of given away to somebody. And a less than bare minimum apology bow from the CEOs of Sony, that's highly disrespectful. That is beyond disrespectful. Like, I know, okay, let me put it in perspective for you guys, because the article also later on mentions like there was some flight in Japan that crashed, killed like 500 something, I think it was like 513, 510, I don't know the exact number, it was like 510 people. And they find out that the problem was like an engineering problem. There was like something somewhere that went wrong with engineering, and that caused the plane to crash. The president of this company did a full 1 minute apology bow to like on TV, like to the press and everything. He did like a full 1 minute apology bow, and then he went to each of the freaking 510, 513 people that died. He went to each of their families and apologized to each individual family member personally. And then after he was done with that, he resigned from being president of that company. And the engineer that was responsible, and like the lead engineer of the the people that made the plane that kind of caused it to crash. I don't want to say caused it to crash, but like that were responsible for the flaw in the plane that caused it to crash. Those two people committed suicide. Like this is how like this. I don't even know what to say. This is like how intense and serious the Japanese culture is when it comes to like, my bad, I really messed up, that's my fault. That like their apologies are apparently like that serious. And Sony goes up there, does a 7 second bow. 7 seconds, bare minimum of 10 to 15. For Sony, I'm going to say 15 because this shit's actually pretty serious. And the thing the article says is like the longer the bow, it's like showing like how sorry you are. Like the longer you hold it, it's supposed to be like, okay, I'm really, really, really sorry. Wow. So that's mind-blowing for me. And it just kind of adds on to why I really don't like Sony as a company. Don't get me wrong, I like some of their products. They have, they have some good TVs. Like, I enjoyed PS1 and PS2. I even had a PS3 for a while, and, but Sony as a company is, I don't know how you can defend them. That they had, like, no security in place for PlayStation Network users, that their welcome back program's pretty kind of laughable when you consider what happened when the freaking apology to the Japanese people was below the bare minimum for a freaking issue like this. And you take that, and it's like, okay, Pyro Tycoon, like, whatever, this is just one thing, they kind of fucked up and their apology was piss poor. Look at Sony's history, like, as a company. Like, I mentioned this in another video. Like, the freaking graffiti artists they hired to advertise for PSP, the freaking racist billboard ads, I think it was in Europe, for the PSP White. Like, just can't help but to look at this company and like the company and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? You're so ignorant and arrogant and full of yourselves. Like, I don't know how you can defend them at this point. I really don't. Can someone please explain to me how you're still defending Sony as a company at this point when they obviously don't care about you as a customer to have, you know, freaking up-to-date software and firewalls to protect the fucking information of millions of users, like trying to cut corners everywhere to make a profit. I don't get it. Sony attacking, they attacked GeoHot like crazy. All he did was jailbreak a PS3, which in the end isn't like that serious. They made it, the way they went after him was like a life or death situation. And then you declare war on all hackers when you're obviously you have basically no security in place for PlayStation Network. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, for real. And there was, damn, I lost my train of thought. I don't know. Mind blown. Sony as a company is just really retarded. Okay, I remember now. There's an article I was reading this morning from some CEO. I forget his name. I'll have a link to the article posted in the description. Basically saying, I'm really sorry for what happened, Sony. We apologize. And that's when he announced the credit, kind of the $1 million credit thing for users that had stuff stolen. And he said, people are questioning why we didn't contact our consumers earlier. Well, let me explain. Well, we were trying to figure out how serious the hack was and whether or not credit card information was actually stolen, so we decided not to inform you guys. And it's like, one, it's like, even if you can kind of agree with that, like, what the fuck? Like, at the possibility of this shit happening, you should have contacted people so they could have been preemptive, so they could have been proactive and canceled their cards. That's what I think. You people may think otherwise, it's cool. But he goes on to say, and this is the really fucked up part, he goes on to say, after the security breach, we hired the top security experts to find out what happened. It's like, whoa, Sony, you didn't have top security experts in the first place and you had to go out and hire some to find out what happened when really all you needed to do was have them in the first place and this never would have happened. Sony, wow. You deserve no sympathy. I hope these lawsuits get at you. And just, wow. I am blown away. If you can go back, watch my first vid, watch this one, and tell me Sony as a company is, like, good, decent, I don't know what to say to you. Like, if you're, wow. I can see being a fan of the PlayStation brand, but to be a Sony fan at this point is mind-boggling. And the sad thing is there's still people out there that are actually like Sony fans. Like PlayStation brand fans, I say that's, at this point, I'm grouping that different from Sony fans. If you're still defending Sony as a company at this point, there's something wrong. There is something wrong. Okay, this video is running way too long. Power Talk, I'm done.